Hello, and welcome to another look with Christian King. Today I'm going to be doing a recap show for UFC 225. It is Sunday afternoon. The fights took place last night. I'm very excited to be here with y'all. I've been having a few technical difficulties, so a little delayed getting this recording going, but now that I'm here, I can't wait to talk about these fights. Last night was amazing. So on my preview show, I started from the bottom and went to the top, and that's what I was about to start doing, but then I kind of realized, maybe some people just want to hear about the top fight. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the top and actually work my way backwards. It's probably a better way of doing things for a recap show. So here we go. I'm going to jump right into this. And same thing as I said with the preview shows. I'm not making a whole bunch of notes necessarily, or definitely not watching anything while I'm talking. So, not everything's going to be perfect, but I think I've got a pretty good grasp on what took place last night. And same thing with the preview show. I'd like to be doing this for a lot of the major fights, so hopefully this won't be the only time I do a recap show. All right, so let's start from the top. Robert Whittaker defeated Yoel Romero by split decision, 248-47s, which is 3-2 in layman's terms, and won 3-2. For the other guy, Yoel Romero. So he got the nod on two of the three judges' scorecards. All right, so what do I think about this? I think that the fight should have been a draw. I think that last round, round 5, was a 10-8 round for Yoel Romero. If that was not a 10-8 round, then what is a 10-8 round? That's crazy. So I think the fight was a draw. That's what I believe. I think it should have been scored 47-47, and it would have been a draw. But for the sake of the division, a good thing Robert Whittaker won, because we don't need someone winning or drawing a fight when they didn't make weight. That would just be so typical for the middleweight division after all this. Everything that's gone on since Michael Bisping upset Luke Rockhold. It's been a whirlwind of title fights that don't make a whole lot of sense, and now we just had a title fight where it wasn't a title fight because someone missed weight. Yoel missed weight, not someone. So, Rob won, simplifies the division. I, however, thought it was a draw. That round 5 has got to be a 10-8. Whittaker was barely hanging in there. I thought he was done on at least 2 occasions in that round. So the first thing I want to do is part of doing a preview show is that you're going to be right about some stuff, which I was tonight, and you're going to eat some crow, which I'm going to do right now. The first thing that's just hilarious is that I said that weight wouldn't be an issue. Good one, right? So, of course, Yoel Romero misses weight after I say, oh, no, it won't be a problem. He's been making weight for 20-some years and only missed weight once, and it was because they moved his fight, and it was in Australia. Nope, he still missed weight, even though this fight's been scheduled forever, and he only had to travel from Florida to Chicago. He still missed weight, so great. Good job. He missed by 0.2 pounds. I did hear the commission cut him short, no pun intended, cut his cut short. So, maybe he would have made that extra 0.2, but he sure was wincing and grimacing in pain when he was walking by the media after missing weight by 0.2, so I'm sure he wasn't feeling great. But, I'd say one of Yoel's best cardio performances in that fight. That's one of my first initial thoughts, is that Yoel's cardio. See, the thing is, in the Luke Rockhold fight, Yoel Romero got exactly what he wanted. He got to just wait back and recharge his batteries and then explode, but Whittaker wasn't letting him. Whittaker was pressing the action, and man, Yoel looked pretty darn good for someone who's had a lot of cardio issues. He's always dangerous, but he's often tired and dangerous, and he looked in better shape than usual for this fight. So I was not physically in better shape. He always looks like a statue of a Greek god, but he looked to be in better cardiovascular conditioning shape. So that was impressive to see. And man, what a fight of the night. So that's a $50,000 bonus for each. But since Yoel missed weight, his bonus goes to Whittaker. So Whittaker got $100,000 extra dollars. That must be nice. So I had picked that Rob would win by unanimous decision or a late TKO. I did not predict that it would be this hard for him, and he won he won a split decision. So I was wrong. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was wrong. He did win, but it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. I didn't expect him to. I didn't expect Yoel to look so good in the 5th round, and I guess not that I overestimated Robert Whittaker. He's a great fighter. Maybe I underestimated Yoel's ability to get to him with some of those strikes a little bit. Rockhold's a great fighter, but he's laughably hittable. He backs up in a straight line with his chin in the air, and he gets hit by every left hook that anyone has ever thrown at him, ever. He has no defense on that left side for some reason. So he's always open to being hit, his right side, but you know what I mean. His opponent always able to hit him over the top with the left hook. It's an easy shot for him to get hit with. So I didn't necessarily maybe give Yoel Romero enough credit for how he took out Rockhold. I kind of just figured, well, yeah, that's Rockhold. If you get him backing up, you can hit him with a left over the top anytime you want. And if you hit as hard as Yoel, you'll put him away. And Rockhold's not known for his chin, at least not with that weight cut that he has to make. So anyways, it was a great fight. Rob wins. He retains his middleweight championship. Puts Yoel in a difficult spot. Some would say that he won the fight, or at least that he got a draw. I would say he got a draw. But, he's missed weight, and it's a little hard to go into another title fight after you've missed weight. And also, too, it's uncommon for someone to get a third fight with someone they've lost to twice. So yeah, anyways, we're going to move on to first, before we move on, I just want to give a big shout out to Yoel Romero's cut man. They got that swelling down on that eye very impressively, so wow, props to them. That was impressive. His eye was almost closed, and they were really able to get it under control, and of course it still looked bad, but they were able to do pretty well with that, so that was cool to see. Always good to see good cut man work, especially after you have guys whose cut man don't do a good job and they end up having the fight stopped due to a swollen eye, like Yair Rodriguez versus Frankie Edgar. So that was great to see. All right, we will move on to the co-main event, everyone's favorite bully and character, Colby Covington. It defeated RDA, and I missed this one too. I did say that I thought that if Colby won, it would be with pressure and relentless wrestling, and if he could get RDA frustrated and claustrophobic like Khabib did, that he would stand a chance. But I did ultimately decide that I thought RDA would get him out of there in round 3. Rafael dos Anjos came a little close in that round, I believe, so I'm going to take a little bit of pride in that. That was the one time where it started to look, maybe for a second, Colby had slowed down. He had a big body shot, and it was the only time he took a couple backward steps, but then he got right back on it. So what can we say about this? Well, first off, the decision. Do I agree with it? Yes, I do. I thought Colby won the 5th round. I thought it was 2-2 going into that 5th round, so Colby won 48-47, and that's what the judges had to say. I believe one judge gave him 4 rounds. I think he won 3, which I did say if he won that he would probably win 3 and that it would be tough, but I did pick RDA, so can't get away with that. So my first thoughts as the fight was going on is, wow, Colby looks good. His striking looks a lot better than the Damian Maia fight, and he's really pushing the pace, but surely he's going to gas out. Well, he didn't, so props to him. He has insane cardio. So Colby came out the gate strong. At some point in the fight, might have been round 2 or 3, RDA did this crazy jump knee, and Colby just happened to not run right into it, but RDA had timed it well, and if Colby had done what he'd done in the past couple times where they had a little distance between them, Colby would have run right into that jump knee chin first. Man, that was close. If he had gotten jump knee KO'd by RDA after talking all that mess, can you imagine the memes that would have come out of that and the gifs? Oh man, it would have been great, but alas, RDA did not win one for all the fans, and Colby takes the win, and apparently is going to take his interim welterweight title to the White House, which is interesting and kind of funny because it's an interim title, so that's a little bit funny. But anyways, good for Colby. He had a great fight. I was very impressed with his performance. So before we move on from that, there's not a whole lot to talk on about that one. It kind of went exactly how everyone thought it would go if Colby was able to win. And okay, so a couple quick quick thoughts before we move on. One, I do think that the trash talk ended up playing a factor in the end because I think that RDA could have moved better laterally and cut more angles to avoid getting back up to the fence. But I think he was a little gung-ho on trying to take out Colby after all that trash talk. So I do think the trash talk played a factor. So maybe it's not just total craziness. Maybe there's a little bit of method to the madness, but man, it must be exhausting to try and stay in character all the time. I mean, he didn't even relax in his post-fight interviews. He's still running that character, and that must get tiring. I mean, at some point, don't you just want to enjoy a victory and be yourself? But good for him. And in a way, I'm sure he is being himself, but obviously he's doing it with a little extra something on top, just a little bit of an act going on there. But good for him. Last thought before we move on: what does Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley look like? Well, everyone who hates Colby and just wants to see him lose is going to say, oh, well, he's going to get slept. He's going to get knocked out by Tyron Woodley's huge right hand. Maybe. Woodley's getting kind of old now. He's gotten older. He is, in my opinion, at least as far as I've been watching him, he has pretty terrible cardio. And, he hits hard, cool, but that's really seems to be it. I mean, I just don't feel like he pursues his wrestling like he should. If you want to understand all the problems with Tyron Woodley's game, don't watch the recent fights. Don't watch the boring fight against Stephen Thompson. And the first one was kind of cool. The second one was pretty bad. And don't watch the terrible fight with Damian Maia where he didn't go after him at all, which Colby Covington did. And Colby Covington left him in a pool of blood, whereas Tyron said that, oh, well, no one can do that to him because then you'll get submitted. Well, Colby did it, and you're supposed to be better than him, according to you. So that's not, that was already kind of a little bit of a sign that maybe there's a little something to picking Colby in that matchup against Tyron Woodley. But if you want to see what's wrong with Tyron Woodley's game, watch the Rory McDonald fight, where he did nothing the entire fight and just got picked off and styled on by someone who he was expected to be way faster than and way more athletic. I think that there's a chance that he will knock Colby Covington dead, but I don't think Colby will be able to take him down in the first round or the second round, but I think that Tyron Woodley will be exhausted by the time the third round, at least by the time the third round ends, he'll be exhausted unless he gets Colby out of there with a KO. Tyron can't fight at the pace that RDA looked frustrated and tired for the first time since the Habib loss, and I just don't see Tyron being able to hang in there like that at all. So that could be a rough matchup for him if he can't get Colby out of there. So we'll talk more about that when it gets closer, but as far as that fight goes, I'm definitely going to be either picking Colby by decision or very late, kind of just tapping ground and pound TKO, or I'm going to be picking Tyron to knock him out in the first two. So we'll have to explore that more when we get closer to that. But let's go ahead and move on backwards. One more fight to Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson. So this was a great fight. I picked Holm by unanimous decision, and Holm won by unanimous decision. So now we're getting to where I did a little better in some of my picks. Megan Anderson, so seeing her come out the gate, first off, I was worried for Holly at the start of the fight. Megan came out looking big, looking like a specimen, an athletic specimen, and she looked rangy and dangerous, and she landed a big knee and was just kind of backing Holly up and just looked like she might get her out of there in the first round, which would be shocking for Holly Holm to get put away like that. That doesn't happen to Holly Holm. And I was nervous for Holly for a second, but then Holm started slowing things down like a veteran. Pushed her up against the cage, little knees to the thigh, little barely damaging, but keeping her thinking punches. And Holm probably didn't steal that first round, although according to some of the judges, I think she did. I think it might even been 30-26 by some judges. So maybe she did steal that first round. I wasn't scoring. I was enjoying watching. But then Holm started mixing in wrestling and jiu-jitsu. She was passing Megan Anderson's guard like it wasn't even there, raining down big punches, big elbows. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Holly Holm land an elbow, much less any ground and pound. So really impressive to see. She works with Izzy Martinez Wrestling, wrestling. He's a phenomenal coach and wrestler in his own right. So Holly Holm just looked incredible, and I was happy to see her win. Every time a Holly Holm fight starts, even if I didn't, whether I picked her or whether I didn't pick her, or whether I thought I cared about who won or thought I just wanted to enjoy it, I always end up starting to root for her. I just can't help it. She's just a lovable person. So good for Holly. I was impressed with this win, and it was a lot of fun to watch. All right, so before that, we saw Tai Tuivasa face Andrei Arlovski in a classic up-and-comer versus old grizzled veteran matchup. My expectation was that Tai would probably get him out of there with a knockout, and that didn't happen because someone forgot to tell Andrei Arlovski that he has a terrible chin. I guess Andre must have forgotten, oh yeah, when I get hit hard, I get knocked out, because I've never seen him take punches like that without getting hurt. He got dropped one time, but his feet were also a little crossed up, so it could have been a partially off balance thing. But it was great. Wow, it was great. Tai did win a decision. I thought he might have lost 2-1, but he won 2-1 instead. So he did win, but I don't take much pride in that pick because I thought he would get a knockout or that Andre would win a decision, which I think Andre might have deserved that decision. But of course, Tai finished it off by drinking beer out of strangers' shoes, and I think one of them even spit in it, which is the way a shoey technically supposed to be done in Australia. Disgusting if you ask me. I would never drink out of a shoe, and I would definitely never drink someone's spit, but he's crazy. So when the fight started, the first interesting thing was when they walked out. He walked out to Celine Dion, which was very funny. My wife instantly decided that she was rooting for him and liked him because that's just, what fighter comes out to Celine Dion? So, yeah. So, thoughts on so Tai, he starts pressing forward and landing big punches and combinations, and I'm just talking about in general, I'm not going play by play on the fight, but just in general. I think he gets a little too much forward momentum going on, which, he's a big dude, so I'm sure that's not completely optional for him, but he gets a lot of forward momentum and you can kind of matador him, especially if you're a vet like Arlovski, kind of just get around the side of him. And also, my other fight about this is Andrei Arlovski still seems to be improving in some aspects. In this fight, I thought his boxing defense looked sharper. There was a couple times when he could have really gotten teed off on and had very good hand placement and a little bit of head movement going and just kind of kept firing back enough to keep Tai honest. And man, Andre looked great. It's crazy to say this, but I don't think it's over for him at all. And I mean, not that this fight would necessarily signal the end. I mean, this was one of his better performances in my opinion, but just in general, I mean, he's had some terrible losing streaks in the past, 5 years of his career. He's been up and down, and he'll win a couple in a row, and then he'll lose, I think, like at 1.6 in a row, almost all by knockout. But the dude keeps coming back, and he looked good. So I thought he looked good. I felt a little bad that he didn't get the decision, especially in his hometown. I kind of felt like he deserved it, but hopefully Tai will learn from this fight exactly as if he had lost it. Not that he necessarily deserved to lose. It was a close decision, and you could argue either way. But I hope he still learns from this because I definitely think he has some areas that he can greatly improve. So a couple just little moments in the fight that come to mind, and a couple little points. Okay, so first big takeaway for this, that Tai, people have always said, oh, what happens if it goes into the second round? Well, Tai looked to be in phenomenal shape for a big fella, and his cardio looked better than ever, and he was still throwing good. It wasn't sloppy like the heavyweight fight on the undercard, Coulter versus De La Rocha, so he stayed looking good, so I was very impressed. Then my other thought on this was that, Andre, I think I already said this, but Andre, his boxing defense looked much improved, and, he seems to do great in the cardio, and he's a pretty athletic looking heavyweight. He doesn't carry around much body fat or anything, but sometimes those guys get tired too at heavyweight. So Ty looked good. I look forward to seeing what's next for him. I hope he continues to learn and grow. He is only 24 years old, I believe, which is basically a kindergartner in the heavyweight division. A lot of those guys fight into their 40s, so he's got a long way to go, and I think he'll continue to do better and better. And then there was one little really odd moment in the fight, I think in the first round, where Andre kind of like pulled Ty on top of him. It was almost like he was going for a sacrifice throw or something. I'm not really sure, but then he just clamped down his arms, and that was very odd, but he was able to get up. That was an odd moment in the fight, though. But anyways, that was a good fight. So we'll move back one. Oh, my God. CM Punk versus Mike Jackson. This was just stupid. Good for them, I guess. Whatever, dude. If you pay me $500,000, I'll go look like crap in front of a pay-per-view audience. I mean, I'm sorry, but you can only give the guy so much prop for chasing his dreams. I mean, dude, you're getting paid a ton of money. It's a little, I don't know very many people other than very rich people, which I don't really know any very rich people. Anyone I know, from me to my coworkers to just strangers, pretty sure most people would fight a guy that looks like Mike Jackson for $500,000. I mean, maybe they wouldn't fight Francis Ngannou for $500,000, but pretty sure almost everyone I know would fight a athletic but very skinny and kind of string bean built guy who does fight, he does train, and he obviously is much better than CM Punk, but he's also a media member, he's a promoter, a photographer. So, fighting him, I mean, good for CM Punk for chasing his dreams, but you're not going to get a whole lot of props from me for fighting someone when you're getting paid that much money, especially when you've talked about how much this lawsuit has drained you. So, I mean, he could probably use $500,000, and he probably made even more than that. I think that was just his base pay. So, Mike Jackson 130-26, and the best part about this fight is that the pay-per-view was having issues ordering for me, so I only had to watch the last 4 minutes of it because my pay-per-view started late because I couldn't get Charter to work. I usually watch it through Fight Pass, but I was watching it through Charter, and there was something wrong, and I got stuck on hold on the phone, and so I missed most of this fight, which was a blessing. Now, I did go back and rewatch it this morning, and it was terrible, but I just wanted to make sure I saw all of it in case there was anything good to take away from it, and you know what? There actually was not anything good to see. You see what I did there? You thought I was going to say there was something good to take away from it. There wasn't. It was terrible. CM Punk is awful. His striking is awful. He seems like he has heart and he doesn't quit. So that's all I'm going to say for him. And man, kind of hate Mike Jackson a little bit for not, I said it's up to, well, first off, I pretty much called this dead rights. I said that if it goes past the first 5 minutes, it's just going to be terrible MMA. And that's what it was. It was terrible MMA. Now, Mike Jackson didn't look tired, so good for him. At least he still had good technique and everything throughout. But I do kind of resent him a little bit he was definitely carrying CM Punk, let's be honest. He could have finished him at any moment in that fight, and he was carrying him. That's a boxing term for when you kind of let someone hang in there and don't finish them because you want to give the people a show. And I think he was enjoying his time on the pay-per-view and didn't want it to be over too soon. He figured he'd get a little more camera time if he let Punk hang around. I think he could have finished him, and I think we all would have been better off watching less of that fight. So shame on you, Mike Jackson. I'm just kidding, but I do wish he'd finished him. But hey, good for Mike Jackson. He definitely is a heck of a lot better than CM Punk, and I'm sure there's a couple guys in the UFC he could give a good fight to. So good for him. I don't think he'll get a second opportunity though, because he seems to have drawn the ire of Dana White for the exact same things that I was just saying about not finishing CM Punk and making us watch 15 minutes of that horrible fight. So we're going to move back to the main event on the prelims. Overeem versus Blades. So, Curtis Blades is huge. Of course, he looked huge with Mark Hunt, but Mark Hunt's only, I think, 5'10 or 5'11, mostly just he's very thickly built, and that's why he's a heavyweight, but his height is more of a welterweight height. Alistair Overeem is, I believe, 6'3 or 6'4, and I think Blades is 6'5. Blades looked huge. So Curtis Blades came out, and right away, I kind of started seeing a possibility for my pick. I don't remember exactly what I picked. I should have made a note of that, but I think I said that I could see. I think I said that Blades would probably win a decision, but that I might have said that, but I know that one thing I said very clearly was that Alistair Overeem, there was a good chance that he could kind of outsmart Blades and let Blades think that he is being, and by he I mean himself, so let Blades think that, oh hey, I'm being really smart here and I'm not taking too many chances and I'm controlling this fight, but really Alistair's just letting him think, using his veteran savvy to let him think that he's still in there, let him think that maybe he's winning, and then by the time he realizes that he's losing a decision, it's too late. But what happened instead is that Alistair Overeem came out looking very patient and tricky, which played into what I thought could happen. But then Curtis Blades started doing pretty well. He landed a good takedown. And then, just kind of being patient and trying to get some work going, and Alistair Overeem actually at one point was able to hurt him, but then got taken down immediately, which was kind of shades of the Mark Hunt fight for Curtis Blades, where he gets hurt, but he's able to keep his wits about him enough to get a big takedown. Very, very good to see. It's important to see these guys show composure when they get hurt, because if you're in the heavyweight division, you're going to get hurt in your fights. Then there was at least once where Overeem went hard for a heel hook, but he lost it. And there was one point, I think it was in the second, where you saw him go for the heel hook and lose it, and he had that very discouraged look on his face, which is never good to see. Just kind of frustrated, maybe feeling like that was one of his last big opportunities to get that going. So in the end, what ended up happening is Blades was actually able to hurt Overeem, who's not known for his great chin, and started teeing off on him. And when Overeem pulled up the high guard to protect his head and not get knocked out, Curtis just shot underneath and took him down. And it kind of looked like maybe he just ride out the rest of the fight for a decision. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if he got possessed by a demon or what the heck happened, but he just started raining down vicious elbows and split Overeem wide open between the eyes. Man, I think Joe Rogan said he opened him up like a can of tuna. I think that was the quote from Joe Rogan, and man, it was nasty. That was a vicious cut and a vicious finish, and Blades might be positioning himself for a title shot, although don't forget about Volkanovski? No, Volkov. Volkanovski's a featherweight from the rugby guy. Yeah. No, Alexander Volkov. Yeah, don't forget about him. Okay. So now we're going to back up one fight to Claudia Gadelha versus Carla Esparza. Boy, was I wrong about this. I am sorry for not giving Carla Esparza enough credit. I thought that there wouldn't be much to see here because Claudia would probably get tired and lose the last round, but that she would already be up by 2-0 easily. But I don't know if it's the Young Jacek wars or if it's the beating she took from Andrade or if it's the weight cut finally starting to catch up with her. But Claudia she seems to get tired quicker in every fight, which is the opposite of what you would hope for. You'd hope you could improve someone's cardio problems, and she just seems to get tired easier and easier with every fight. And she also got rocked by Carla Esparza, which I would never expect. I don't think Carla tends to hurt people on the feet. Her technique's gotten a lot better, but she's not in there trying to knock people out. She's in there to use her grappling, and to use the hands to set up the takedown, and Carla looks way more confident, way more composed on the feet, and way less fearful than she has in her younger fights, like when she lost the belt to Young Jacek. So very impressed with Carla Esparza. She had this moment where after she had rocked Gadelha, which Gadelha did run directly into that punch face first, so that probably helped her get rocked. But when she went down, Carla was on top of her, and the ref wasn't looking very clearly, I guess, and Carla just landed a blatant headbutt, just headbutted her right in the nose area, and it was pretty funny, but definitely illegal. After saying all that, guess what? Claudia still won. She still won 2-1. But rather than taking credit for calling that, I'm going to say I think that's a terrible decision. I thought Carla won that fight. I thought Carla won the third round, and I thought she won possibly the first round, which I think that's the one where she dropped her. But whichever one she hurt her in, I felt like Carla deserved to win that fight. Maybe just because of the underdog story. Maybe I'm being a little biased. Maybe if I rewatch it, I'll see that Claudia did win 2-1. But I thought that Carla had won. That was my first thought at the end of the fight, and I was ready to eat crow on that. And I'm still gonna eat crow on that, even if they gave the decision to Claudia, because I don't think she won it like I said she would. So props to Carla Esparza, and I guess not props to me for underestimating her greatly. All right, let's back up one. Ricardo Bektis. Ricardo Bektis. I'm combining their names. Jesus Christ. Okay, Ricardo Lamas versus Mirsad Bektic. Okay, I picked that Bektic would win by unanimous decision. But I did kind of ride the fence on this one a little bit because I said that Lamas could get a TKO or a club and sub just because he's an opportunist. And that's what the fight looked like to me. Bektic won a split decision, I believe is what happened. I think it should have been unanimous, but Ricardo Lamas was always going for submissions. He threw up a bunch of guillotines, and my dad was watching a minute of this fight with me. That was the reason why I had issued the pay-per-view. I was watching it. Decided to go watch it over at my parents' house because we'd been planning on house sitting for them, but then they ended up not going out of town. So long story short, we ended up going over there, me and my wife, and watching the fights. And my dad was still up for this one because it wasn't too late. And he kind of made a comment about, that guy, he just keeps going for that, because he just keeps going for the guillotine. And, he was asking me, was that one close? There was a couple that were close, but it's just that he always goes for it. And the difference between the difference between Ricardo Lamas's decision losses and other people's decision losses is that when Lamas loses a decision, there's always at least one point in the fight you can look back at and say, wow, if he'd just gotten that, though, he would have won. That's why I call him an opportunist. So, Ricardo Lamas looked okay, but he lost the decision. Pretty clear. All right. So, let's see. We had... Okay, I think before that, there was the Rashad Coulter... it was Rashad Coulter versus De La Rocha, and that was terrible. It was a terrible, sloppy heavyweight fight, which is exactly why I said I don't care about low-level to mid-level heavyweight MMA. I only care about the top guys in heavyweight. If you're a very big, athletic dude who'd be the perfect heavyweight fighter, guess what? You're probably playing in the NFL because you can make a lot more money doing that. So, not very much mid to lower-level talent at heavyweight that's worth watching, in my opinion, and that fight was just ugly to watch, so we're going to just not talk about that one. Okay, so Rashad Evans versus Anthony Smith. I wish I was saying, boy, was I wrong about this. Did you see Rashad? No, of course that's not what happened, though. Rashad got knocked out brutally by one of the first strikes that Anthony Smith threw, and then Anthony Smith landed about 2 unnecessary follow-up punches that made me yell at my, I was watching this one on Fight Pass, so I was watching it on my phone, and I yelled at my phone because I was so angry at Anthony Smith in that moment for landing those extra punches to someone when he's already out. It just made me so mad. After I had a second to think about it and watch the replay, I don't think he was trying to be dirty, and then when you listen to him talk about Rashad and you listen to his interviews, he's clearly a very classy guy, so clearly Anthony Smith is a classy dude. He was just excited and in the moment and landed at least one too many, in my opinion. But hey, as soon as the ref touched him, he stopped. So that's what really matters at the end of the day. He didn't do anything wrong. So we're not going to sit here and hate on him just because he beat someone that I'm a big fan of. But that was hard to watch. I had a feeling that's what's going to happen. That's what I said was going to happen. We talked about how far apart the odds were. And that's what you get, and it broke my heart. And I really hope that Rashad Evans calls it a day. He needs to retire, not because I say so, not because anyone else says so, but because at this point, what's he chasing? There's nothing for him to do anymore. He's been a champion. He's won the Ultimate Fighter. He's been in the sport forever. It's time to say goodbye for him, and I look forward to his Hall of Fame induction. Speaking of which, Ronda Rousey got inducted into the Hall of Fame. She'll be joining the Modern Wing this summer, and I thought that was great to see because despite what you want to say about her attitude with the media or her last couple fights, she was a pioneer for the women's division. She's the one who got it all started. She's the one who convinced Dana White to let him in the UFC. And I I have even more respect for her because I can't help but feel in the back of my mind that if she'd gone to a different camp, like American Top Team maybe, or really anywhere other than Edmond and the Glendale Fighting Club, I think that she could have had a much better career, and I think she could have kept winning for a lot longer, and I think she might even still be there. So, so honestly, I give her a little bit of a pass on some of the things that went wrong at the end of her career because, I mean, I know she's responsible for them, but I feel like the coaching and all the false confidence that she was given from that coaching didn't help. So anyways, on to the fights again. Joseph Benavidez versus Sergio Pettis. So I picked Joe B. Joe B1. I picked him by unanimous decision. I thought that if he looked bad, that Sergio could steal a decision, but that he would probably come back looking pretty good and win a unanimous decision. So he lost the decision. He lost a split decision that possibly he could have won, but I would even argue that Sergio should have been a unanimous for Sergio. I thought Sergio won, and I think part of why is because, like I said if he comes out not looking as good as before, and that's what happened. I thought he looked slower than before. I thought that he was getting hit with just about everything. I thought he had ring rust. I thought that he looked like the long layoff and the injury had affected him and possibly his confidence. He got dropped early, but then he got like an easy pushover takedown, which I believe is the only takedown he technically landed in the fight. But because it was the first one and it looked so effortless and he got it while he was hurt, I thought that was a bad sign for Sergio. But then Sergio showed much improved takedown defense for the rest of the fight. Joe was opening up with leg kicks at the beginning, but still looking a little slow. Like he said, he got dropped, and then, just kind of kept getting hit a lot. Got an easy takedown, but Sergio got back up. And I remember at one point, I think it was in between the first and second round, while I was just kind of thinking about what I was seeing for a minute, I did have this kind of sad thought in my mind, which is that if you put this Joseph Benavidez, now, granted, he could look better in his next fight. It could be ring rust, but I'm saying this, the one that I was watching at that exact moment. If you transported Sergio Pettis out of the octagon and replaced him with Demetrius Johnson in that moment, that fight would not even be close to competitive. I think that if on last night, Demetrius Johnson had fought Joseph Benavidez, I think that it would have been one of Demetrius Johnson's easiest wins of his career. And I think that if you showed someone what would have happened there and then showed them the first fight and told them that Joe had lost a split decision to Demetrius before, they wouldn't believe you. I just think that Joe looked, unfortunately, not as good as he has before, and I really hope a lot of it was ring rust and he comes back looking even better. I did have some issues with my Fight Pass, which sucks. Come on, Fight Pass, get your crap together. There's always issues with Fight Pass. Whenever they have any type of good Fight Pass prelims, they're always cutting out and buffering and messing up because that's the only time anyone ever watches them, so it's really frustrating. But so I did miss moments here and there of the fight, went back and rewatched it, tried to kind of piece together. So I've watched like half of the fight today and, or not half, I watched most of it yesterday live, but there was a couple minutes where I missed. So I went back and watched those. But, I felt like Joe was missing a lot of strikes really badly. Sergio was stuffing his takedowns. It was also the first time I saw Joe looking so tired, but then he did kind of seem to get a second wind in the third round, partially though, because Pettis was kind of taking the round off, which I thought was a little bit stupid because that could have been a tied fight. And it turns out I think it was tied. So, I would have to go back and honestly, I just, I know it's a big fight, but it is a Fight Pass fight, so it was a little hard to really want to watch it a bunch of times and score it. I know what happened already. It wasn't a fight of the year contender by any means. Not that it wasn't a fun fight, but, not really something I want to go back and try and score. And at the end of the day, even if I were to score it 2-1 for Joseph, it doesn't matter because he didn't win the fight. It's not up to me. It's up to the judges. So we'll just move on. And my last thought will just be that I don't think Sergio Pettis has what it takes to beat Cejudo or Demetrius Johnson. So I don't really know what the point is here of him fighting them. I mean, obviously he deserves it, and if he pulls it off, good for him, but I don't think he has what it takes to beat DJ or Cejudo, so unfortunately just not hard to get excited about him moving forward in the division. And as for Joseph Benavidez, I hope he looks better in his second fight after this long layoff and injury, so I'll be rooting for him. All right. So before that, we had Clay Guida versus Charles Oliveira. Let's see what I said. Oh, I said Oliveira gets a guillotine in round one. Man, I was really wrong. Not. Oliveira got a guillotine in round one. I thought this one was pretty easy to call, and I was really surprised. I would be surprised if I heard people saying things other than that. Guida leaves himself open to getting guillotined. He just does. The way he shoots in for takedowns, you're going to get your neck snatched up by someone as good as Charles Oliveira. So came out, Guida did the no glove touch, which is always kind of funny when you see someone ask to touch gloves and the other guy says no, and then it's kind of, it's kind of just awkward, honestly. It's like if, you ask someone for their phone number and they say no, or, you give someone a friend request on Facebook and they deny it. It's just kind of an awkward little silly moment. So I got a laugh out of that. Oliveira started landing good leg kicks. He was avoiding counters, just sliding in and out really nice. He landed a nice jab that opened a cut on Guida immediately, probably an old cut with Guida being a veteran. He probably had some scar tissue there. So then what happened is he landed a big knee, and Guida decided, okay, I got to take this guy down, and he got his neck snatched up, which is what I thought would happen. So that one was pretty straightforward, and Charles Oliveira never stops talking about wanting to move back down to 145 pounds, which I just don't understand. He seems like he's too big to me, and he's missed the weight a bunch of times, so I wish he would just focus on 155 and stop talking about fighting at a weight class that isn't healthy for him to cut to, but it's his life, it's his choice. Okay, and then the first fight was another one that I kind of passed over, but I will say that Dan Ige did look impressed. I think that's how you say his name. He looked impressive. He beat Mike Santiago in the first, I think it was within 1 minute. Might have been like 50 seconds or something. Hey, fun way to start the night. Good for him. And, I'll pay more attention to his next fight. So, that's what I like to see. When guys put on an exciting performance and come out and get a quick finish, it makes it easy to want to tune in the next time. So, and of course, I want to say I'm never disrespecting someone when I don't talk about their fight. First off, I'm not important, so they don't care. They don't care that I'm not talking about it. More what it is I don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want to sit here and give a fake breakdown where I pretend that I know and pretend that I have thoughts about something. I got the RDA Colby fight wrong. I did, but I actually knew what I was talking about, and I made some good points, and I know those fighters, and I know their games, and I saw the different possibilities. I gave the different possibilities. If I had tried to pick Dan Ige to win this fight, I would have just been picking it based off of, it would have been just based off their highlight reels or something, and that's not really worth anyone's time to listen to. So that's why I don't talk about every fight. It's not that I'm trying to be disrespectful. So anyways, this was a fantastic night of fights. I had a great time watching these fights. Tons of fun, tons of exciting fights. Of course, I'm a hardcore fan, so I'm pretty easy to please as far as the fights go. I tend to enjoy just about every fight other than the really bad ones, but biggest takeaways from the night, and then we'll get out of here. Biggest takeaway for me is that Colby Covington backed up all that trash talk. Wow. If he'd gotten knocked out, what would he have said next? That would be a tough spot for him. So as long as he keeps winning, he'll keep talking. Wow, Colby looked good. What's next for RDA? Just give him a bounce back fight. Give him someone to fight. He'll probably win. He didn't take a ton of damage in this fight. It was more of a frustrating loss than anything else. So I think RDA still got plenty of life left. All right, other takeaways. Megan Anderson, very athletic, very dangerous. Really needs some more experience. She didn't adjust at all when Holly completely changed her game plan. I don't think Holly went into that fight wanting to wrestle and use jiu-jitsu, but Holly is a very intelligent veteran fighter. She's a veteran of the UFC, but most of all, she's a veteran of combat sports. She's a boxing world champion, I think at least a few times. I don't know, and some of those titles are more legitimate than others, but I know she's won several boxing championships, and she's a veteran fighter. So she switched up her game plan completely, and I just didn't feel like Megan really adjusted at all. Maybe that's because she doesn't have enough tools in her toolbox. In that case, she needs to work on that in the gym. But I think a lot of it might have just been that she wasn't ready to make on the butterfly adjustments, and that's very important at the highest level. So I'd like to see Megan come back and get a much easier fight. Maybe let her, she just came off a long layoff, but I think maybe she should take a little time off and then wait for this tough season and fight one of those girls coming out of tough. But, you know, I don't know. She's definitely not fighting Cyborg next, I can tell you that. And I think Holly Holm's going to go down and fight Nunes, and then the winner of that will fight Cyborg. So we'll see where Megan Anderson goes from here. And then also, Yoel Romero, what do we do with him? He's missed weight twice in a row, but he arguably at least tied. Technically he lost, but I think he deserved to get a tie with the champ. So technically maybe they should fight again. But I don't think they will, because I don't think there's a lot of faith in him to make the weight, and I just don't think he showed them. He came in, according to Joe Rogan on the broadcast, he came in 5 pounds heavier this week than he did the week that he arrived for the last fight where he missed weight in Perth, Australia. So that's just really not a smart sign. You don't want to come in heavier if you missed weight the last time. You want to try and slim down and leave yourself a little less weight to cut. So I think they might kind of force him up to 205, and we'll see where he goes from there. But anyways, I had a great time watching these fights. I hope everyone else enjoyed them as well, and I look forward to the next time I get on here and get to give a preview show and a recap show. It's a whole lot of fun. We didn't get everything right, but we got some stuff right, and the stuff we didn't get right, we get a chance to talk about, so it all works for me. All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to listen to anything else I put out. I appreciate it. And, I'm really just here because I'm passionate about the sport. I'm a huge fan. And, you know, this is a fun hobby for me. You know, it's a lot more fun than what I do every day at work. So we'll see how this goes. But hope you all enjoyed the fights, and I'll see you next time.